Life Over Coffee. Conversations for Transformation.
Hello, everyone. This is Rick Thomas with Life Over Coffee. Thank you so much for joining me. I have a special guest that I imagine most of you have heard of. It is Kevin Sorbo. I am not going to work through his bio. I hope over the next few minutes we will do this. Many of you saw him as Hercules, which is probably his largest claim to fame. But he has had over 60 movies, and he continues to make movies. And I want to talk about some of those. And again, we will get into that as we move along here. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us at Life Over Coffee.
It's good to be here. I know you talk about Hercules, but I would be remiss if I don't let people know that I also did 5 years on Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda. I'm not gonna let you get away with my 80-hour work weeks when I did be the first captain after Captain Kirk and that Roddenberry family, which is really an honor for me because I grew up as a little kid watching all the reruns of Star Trek back in the 70s and 80s. So it was kind of cool to do that. And it's actually 83 movies now. So that bio you got's a little bit old, I think.
We are a divided home. I was well aware of the Roddenberry TV series. My wife would be a Trekkie. I did see Star Wars 25 years after it came out. It's just not my genre. But I am Hercules. I can totally get into. But you're right. You are the second coming of Captain Kirk, and that is a big deal. There's several things. I have a lot of questions for you,
Sure.
but I'm curious. So you've been a Christian or part of a Christian family all of your life. When did you become a Christian?
My whole life. I don't remember not being one. I grew up and my parents were every Sunday was St. John's Lutheran Church. Every Wednesday for me from my teenage years, 7th grade through 12th grade was the room at our church. St. John's Lutheran Church was there. We had a teen pastor, Pastor Lee, who was awesome. And Wednesday nights, it was always in the room. And I was more intimidated, I think, by our senior pastor. Pastor Sandus was just a scary guy. He was fire and brimstone, and breathing was a sin. I mean, he just scared all of us. But Pastor Lee was just a cool guy, a guy in his mid-20s that was really somebody that we could sort of talk to, somebody that you could sort of relate to in a way. And he brought the Bible into our day, into our world, and kind of related stories and stuff. So he was great and hugely instrumental in my growth. But I'm not a perfect Christian anyway, but I've never stopped believing. I've never stopped. I always tell my atheist friends, and I go, well, do something called the grateful prayer. Be grateful you're sitting in a car in traffic. Be grateful you got a car. Be grateful the sun's up. Be grateful you got a pillow. You got running water. I mean, we live in such an ungrateful world right now. And I think the biggest killer, not only in America, is apathy. I think there's just such a fear factor from governments all over the place. And there's just such a give up. People just, they fail once and they give up. And it's, God didn't promise any of us an easy life. And
but I do appreciate your testimony. It would be similar to my wife. She was reared in a Christian home, and she hasn't known anything except for a Christian environment all of her life. And what I tell her is that her testimony is actually better than mine. I was in jail when I was 15 years old. I was part of I had a pharmaceutical business when I was a teenager, which is kind of a nice way of saying that I smoked a lot of weed.
Yeah.
But any idiot can do that. It takes no strength. It takes no courage. There's nothing to be proud of as far as doing the things that I did. But what you did, and my wife would also exemplify that, it testifies that the grace of God actually works, that you can be born in a Christian home and live a pretty decent life all the way through. And so when I hear testimonies like yours, to me, that's just super encouraging. And that's something that I want our children to know and experience as well, because they did not have my life at all. Now, I was reading that you, in order to make money during your college days, you became a model. And I just want to say that I worked during my college days as well, but it never crossed my mind to be a model. So how did that work? I mean, did you intentionally, did that fall in your lap, or did you intentionally go looking for that?
Well, it wasn't really modeling per se. Started really doing commercial work, because Minneapolis, where I grew up, about 30 miles west of Minneapolis, on beautiful Lake Minnetonka out there. And I wanted to be an actor since I was 11 years old. And
Okay.
Minnesota, the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul area is national headquarters to Dairy Queen, Best Buy, Target, 3M, Pillsbury, General Mills, Cargill. All these companies are there. And so I started doing commercial work, that's how I got my Screen Actors Guild card, was doing commercials.
At what age?
Through my college years, all through my college years.
Okay.
I did a lot of, I was landscaping during the college summers. I was caddying at a private country club because I love golf. So I was kind of mixing it up. I mean, it wasn't like I was going to job every single week, but I was doing enough. And then the print stuff just started happening because Target, of course, does a lot of print things. And so when I was doing their commercials, they say, hey, we're going to do a line of new sportswear or something like that. We want you to be part of it. And the pay was great. And I said, well, why not do it? Then I started dating a model because that's who you're meeting on these jobs. And she talked me into, when I was done with college, ready to move to LA to pursue that actor's dream, she talked me into going to Europe with her and said, you know what, come to Italy, spend 3 months in Italy with me before you go to LA. And I thought, 3 months in Italy, that sounds pretty cool, So we went to Italy, and three months turned into 3.5 years. I lived in Milan, I lived in Paris, and Zurich, and Munich, London. I mean, it really made me grow up. A guy in his 20s, it made me grow up. And I started doing a lot of print ads. It wasn't fulfilling for me. I love doing the commercials. I must have shot at least 30, 40 commercials over in Europe as well. So I had a great commercial tape, and I had no problem when I did move to LA, finally, 3.5 years later, getting a commercial agent, because I already had that's all important Screen Actors Guild card, but I had a very good commercial reel. So that wasn't an issue for that. It was just a tougher thing to get a real agent to get you on movies and TV shows.
What happened at 11? I mean, you had this epiphany. How did that happen? Did you want to be an actor?
Well, Minneapolis has more theater per capita than New York City does. St. Paul, Minneapolis really support the communities, the arts and all that. And the Guthrie Theater is a very famous theater in Minneapolis, and people in Broadway perform there. And a lot of people start there before moving to Broadway. A lot of plays start there, like Lion King was in Minneapolis before moving to New York City. So in 11 years old, we had fifth grade had a field trip to the Guthrie Theater. We took like 3 buses to get down there, and we went and saw The Merchant of Venice. Now, I was 11. It was Shakespeare. I don't know what the heck they were saying, but I was mesmerized by the actors on stage. And on the way home, my mom was a chaperone. I said, I'm going to be an actor. And she said, that's nice, dear. But the seed was set. And I really... I was a jock, so it was a hard thing to want to admit to my fellow football and basketball buddies that I wanted to be an actor, because we always gave a hard time to the drama class, even though all the drama class had the best looking girls. I was like, I'd rather be in there than talking to you guys. But,
well, the Shakespearean actors would wear leotards too, and that's
true.
That
I don't think I even paid attention to that.
That doesn't go well with the athlete. Hey, is that where Garrison Keillor was?
Yes, Garrison Keillor. Wonderful radio stuff, wonderful stories about growing up in Minnesota.
Yeah. I listened to him all the time up until we didn't. But anyway, I did like his show a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So you have an incredible amount of courage, which I do want to talk about in a moment. But have you ever struggled with fear of man, like insecurity? You are a bold individual, but have you always been that way?
Yeah, I think pretty much so. My dad and mom were, my very strong-willed father. They grew up as a single kid on a farm. They couldn't have any more kids. My grandma. So, when families all around him growing up in the 40s, it was our 30s and 40s for him. He couldn't play sports because he had to be on the farm. The minute, he got up, farm duty, go to school, come back, farm duty until sunset. So it was frustrating for him. He had 4 boys that were all pretty good athletes. So I think he kind of lived vicariously through us. But he was a very strong-willed guy and knew about what hard work was. And he instilled hard work into all of us. In fact, I'm the 4th of the 5 kids. I got a sister in the middle. I started a paper out for the Minneapolis Tribune when I was in 9 years old. So 6 days a week for 7 years, I got up at 4:30 in the morning in Minnesota weather and delivered my 80 newspapers. And so, when I got to be a junior in high school, I was able to buy my first car with my own money. And as I've told my three kids, I said, when you work hard, just like my dad said, when you work hard and buy stuff like that with your own money, boy, do you appreciate it and take care of it more than somebody just giving it to you. And we live in such a different world, obviously, as you know today,
Right.
where this entitlement thing, I don't know, it just comes through the media, it comes through movies and television, through this thing called the internet, which is the Wild West to me. There's a lot of good things about it, but unfortunately, there's a lot more evil in this internet world than there's anything else. So,
Yeah, maybe our
it's still hard work.
our generation may be the last. I mean, we're the same age within a few months, and
Yeah,
I mean, I started working when I was 10 years old, hauling hay and bussing tables, and just wherever you could, make a
yeah.
few pennies. But that was a work ethic that was instilled in you, and we may be the last generation. It certainly started petering off after us, and now it's virtually non-existent. I mean, people don't want to work at all. It's really sad.
No, it's weird. Yeah.
All right. So in the 80s, you headed toward Hollywood and to get your card, and just how do you do that? I mean, I hear those stories all the time. I mean, I guess you were bussing tables or something, and then
No, no. I'm one of the few guys that never had to do that. I already had a very good commercial reel, and I got a commercial agent right away, and I started working commercially right away. In fact, I had like a 6-year run there where I was in the top 5 male commercial actors in the country. I shot well over 100 commercials, and shot them all over the place. Hawaii, Mexico, Virgin Islands, Europe. I was all over the place, and so I was one of the guys, because trust me, I had plenty of. I didn't know anybody when I moved out there, but I had the commercial agent ready to go. So I didn't have a place to stay. I mean, they're the ones that set me up through a second and third source to have a place to stay until I could find my own place. And I just went out there and I just plugged away. And the guys that I met, the guys I became friends with mostly other actors, they were athletic like me. We joined basketball leagues. I played in 3 city leagues in California because I was a big basketball nut. So I'm working out at the gym all the time. Got lucky with a rent control apartment right there in the Santa Monica, Venice border. So Gold's Gym was just less than a half mile away. The ocean was less than a half mile away. So all the rejection that comes with acting, I just worked out at the gym and, did long bike rides, 50-mile bike rides and stuff, just to sort of, work out that frustration. But I was very fortunate not to ever have to work another job in LA. I was very fortunate. I realized that because I saw my buddies selling cars, bartending, bussing table, whatever. And I was able to make a very good living. And I realized how fortunate I was to have that happen.
yeah, that is blessed. That is unusual. It seems to be an anomaly. God seems to has had his hand on your life all the way through. That's encouraging to hear. And when you first went to Hollywood, I mean, Hollywood's never been conservative, but it was way more conservative back then than it obviously than it is now.
Yeah, it was conservative back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. It was mostly conservative. Things started moving a little bit in the 50s. 60s is when the big change was, when you had the Vietnam War, the civil rights, the Welfare Reform Act, the hippie love, the rock and roll, the boost. Hollywood went from really, there was no rating system until the 60s. There was no like R-rated movies back, it was GPG movies, but then they got more violent, more crazy, more insane, more sexual. They started celebrating the anti-hero more than the hero. Hollywood, used to be a lot of song and dance and stuff like that, and John Wayne being the good old boy in the soldier movies, and then also in the westerns. And 60s changed everything, and Hollywood just switched over. It's amazing to me how unbelievably left that whole place has become.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, Charlton Heston was head of the NRA,
right?
And
Yep.
Jimmy Stewart, from what I understand, was a very conservative, if not Christian.
Yep.
You're right. So as it has continued to evolve, I mean, of course, they wanted to push the envelope as far as what they could put on the visual medium.
Oh yeah.
And so now we're giving grades, and of course, that's where things have become more and more explicit. But what was something just dramatically happened, over the last 15 or 20 years? I mean, it's just, it's like we're not even trying to hide anything now.
No, they don't care. They don't care if they lie. They prove that they're hypocrites every day, just like the people we put in office in Washington, D.C. It's not what our forefathers asked for or wanted, but Hollywood just went crazily, nuts and crazy. We even talk about being woke 5 or 6 years ago, but that's certainly what was going on. The cancel culture was happening, and now it's just got crazy. But it's been driven by television and movies. It's been driven by movies, and I mean by newspapers and magazines, and certainly what Hollywood's doing. And politics runs downstream from culture. Who runs the culture? Hollywood does. I mean, Walt Disney said back in the 1950s, movies and television will influence our youth. Well, he was certainly right, and he's flipping over in his grave right now with Walt Disney, what the Disney studios are doing with his namesake, because it's crazy. He would never allow what's going on in Disney now if he was still alive. He would go, "What are you talking about?" So it's just, and they don't seem to care. If you look at the Golden Globes, the Emmys, the Oscars, the ratings in the last 10 years go down every single year because people are fed up with it, with these big A-list stars getting up there and not being gracious, not being appreciating having a fan base, and just say, "Thank you for this award, God bless," But no, they get up there and they rant about, politics, and rant about climate change, rant about all this different stuff. And I remember I did John McEnroe's talk show. People remember he had a talk show for maybe a year before it didn't work. And it was the day before the Bush-Kerry election. And he said to me, it was a Monday night before, I was on there, and I was there to promote Andromeda. And he said, "Who are you voting for?" And I said, "I'm not going to tell anybody who I'm voting for." He said, "I'm getting tired of these actors going out there and saying, 'Hey, look at me, I'm the person voting for this person.' Do you honestly think people out in this audience are that dumb that they're going to sit there, 'Oh my gosh, if he's saying I should vote for him, you should,'" and they all applauded. And he kept bugging me. And I said, "I want to talk about my TV shows." So he finally says, "Look, let's pretend I haven't decided who I'm going to vote for. Here it is, Monday night, elections tomorrow." And I said, "If you haven't decided after 1 year of all these stupid debates and all these polls who you're going to vote for, we don't want you to vote because you're a bloody idiot." And his face got mad at me, but the audience all cheered for it. But,
at what point did it change? I mean, so let me ask you this.
Sure.
Was there a temptation to cave to that and become pragmatic? Like, I want this script, and so I have to compromise my values. That seems like some of them are doing that. I'm sure you've had people who have come to you privately and say, "Keep up the good work, Kevin, but I'm not going to do that." And I can understand the tension. I mean, some people are just not in a position where they're truly thinking about their family. There's financial obligations, and that is a big ask. And I get that tension because we receive that in our ministry all the time. But others will succumb or pander or do whatever they need to because they're really after the script, and values don't matter. Did you have that temptation?
Well, isn't that sad, though, that that's the case, that people are afraid to speak up because of that? And it's
Yes.
sad that they even have to go down that road. Why can't Hollywood just, if you look up the word liberal or even tolerance, and liberal means everybody's point of view is okay. We embrace everybody. They don't. They embrace their tolerance is one-way street. Their freedom of speech is a one-way street. I told you they're hypocrites, and the hypocrites shine through every single day. And you're right. I get people come up to me all the time and movie sets because I've done all these indie movies, and they say, "Hey, thanks for being a voice for us." Whether it's a camera guy, a lighting guy, another actor, and very quietly they look around, "Hey, like we're doing a drug deal, right?" I was like, "Thanks for being a voice for us." And I said, "Be a voice for yourself." But I said, "I can't. I'll get blacklisted like you." And I said, "Granted, I will never get invited to do a big Hollywood movie ever again. I'll never get invited to do another big TV series or something like that." But I said, I got so sick of it. I've never really censored myself. Hollywood just all of a sudden got even worse from like about 2010 on, about the last 12, 13 years. It's just gotten insane. And my manager and agent about a dozen years ago called me in and said, "We can't work with you anymore because you're a Christian and conservative." I went, wow. And that's when I formed my own company, Sorbo Studios, because I love the industry. I love being around creative people. I love creating the things we create, but I wanted to create stuff that was positive. And 2010 was a big turning point from that, actually, when I did a movie called What If. And I've done over 80 movies, and the people there have not seen What If. It's in my top 3 of the 80 plus movies I've done. It's the same writers that did God's Not Dead. In my book, a much better movie than God's Not Dead. God's Not Dead, crazy successful. But What If much better movie, much better. I mean, Dallas Jenkins directed it. He's doing a little thing called The Chosen right now.
Yeah,
So
that little thing. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just an amazing script. And I feel very blessed being part of that movie. And I tell people all the time, if you haven't seen the movie, you got to see it. And on sorbostudios.com, if people go there, they can get an autographed copy from me or just find out more about it. But that's why I formed Sorbo Studios, because I said, I'm going to keep making movies the way I want to make movies that Hollywood used to do, with love and hope, redemption, faith, laughter, forgiveness. When Hollywood doesn't forgive, we live in a world now that I could say anything about you right now, Rick, and people go, oh, he must have done it. We're guilty now before being proven innocent. It's crazy what's going on, and people are allowing this. I don't.
Yeah, that's what they say. Lies can make 3 laps around the earth before truth ever gets their tennis shoes laced up. That's unfortunate. With social media is good, technology is good, cyberspace is good, but it's also horrible as well. With every good thing that God gives us, there's bad. So what you're saying is that you actually didn't move. Hollywood moved, and so you've had the same values, the same worldview, the same philosophy the whole time. But it's kind of like, the liberal today would say the same thing. I mean, we say that they're politically homeless because they're here, but now the left has knocked the walls out, and they've moved 3 miles this way, and so the liberal of today, maybe Bill Maher or Barry Weiss or whomever, they're still in the same place. And so I guess in one sense, you're still where Hollywood has been historically, but now they have just gone wild over the past decade.
Even Bill Maher, thank God, here's a guy that's all of a sudden going, well, wait a minute, I'm still a liberal. But, even he's admitting this is getting too much. This is just absolutely insane. He's talking about the transgender thing going on. He's talking about the woke, the hashtag Me Too, all this stuff going on. And, there's 2 guys, top of my head, Dennis Miller and John Voight. Huge voices now for conservatives. And they're the ones who said, well, you just said now, I didn't leave the party left me. And I tell all these liberals, hey, I know you're young, you probably wouldn't know who John F. Kennedy was. Oh yeah, JFK, cool man, good Democrat. I go online and look at his 1960 inauguration speech. Listen to that. Is there one Democrat that talks the way JFK talked back then? And what's on his gravesite from that speech? Ask not what your government can do for you, but what you can do for your government. And we don't have that. They don't have a Democrat saying that at all. Right now, the Democrat Party is, we want to take care of you from cradle to grave. We know what's best to do with you. We know what's best how to spend your money. I mean, look at it. Most people got to work 6 months a year just to pay taxes. They'll take 6 months, but they're going to let you keep 5 or 6 months of that year. They'll let you do that. But we know what to do with half your income, because we're much more smarter than you are. It's sad, and it's unbelievable what's going on. And we're going to keep fighting, and people need to wake up. I'm here to wake up the lions, because the sheep are always going to be the sheep.
So you got like 1.8 million followers on Twitter. Are you going to get your Facebook page back?
I wish I could, because I had over a couple million people on Facebook, and they took me down for speaking the truth. They actually owe me to take it back, because everything I said that they called misinformation, of course, is true now. It's been proven to be true. And I know other people they took down that they gave back, but I think because I keep calling Zuckerberg a wuss, and his trolls are the same thing, that they don't want to bring me back. So I know Musk is going to do that cage match or something with Zuckerberg. I'm more than happy to do that with Zuckerberg as well, to get my Facebook back. I posted the truth. One of the things I said on my Twitter account, I said, I need more conspiracy theories from all of you, because all mine came true.
Yeah, we have run out of them. Are you talking to Facebook? Are they talking to you?
Not at all. They want to. If I go on Facebook right now, it says you've been banned. You can't come on. I mean, I can't even get on there to form a new one. There's been a couple people that have pretended to be me, and I've had other people. I said, "Can you get these people down?" I mean, they're not being mean or anything, because they sent me some links of what these guys are doing, but they're trying to make money off of my name. And I'd said, you guys, I don't know how they got in there, and my name being on there wasn't enough to ring a flag with them. But on my account here, if I try to get on my computer, forget it, can't get on.
All right, so you're quite vocal in the conservative space and politics and culture and so forth. When did that start?
Well, the first time I could vote, I voted for Ronald Reagan, 1980, when I was old enough to vote. So
I did too, and I mean no offense by this, but I just couldn't get my mind around voting for an actor. Of course, I'm glad that I did. I love
Pretty
Ronald
smart
Reagan.
guy. He was a darn good governor too for California.
I love, well, this is the stereotype of, how can an actor be a politician?
Yeah.
But now when I think about it, oh, it makes perfect sense. All of them are actors, but no, Ronald Reagan was an outstanding.
Yeah.
I just have a lot of affection for him. I wrote Nancy a letter after Ronald had Alzheimer's, but she said at one point, this is not the happy ending that she had expected as he began to lose his mental faculties. And, I mean, I just cried because I just appreciate what he did for the country, and just the way that he presented himself and his way of, being a president. So I grew to respect him, even though initially I did have a hard time putting actor and president in the same category. So, but that's just a vote. You voted, but when did you become vocal?
I don't think I was never not vocal. I think that's well, no, because I never hid from it and stuff like that. I remember, being even on the set of Hercules, because I was down in New Zealand, which is a very socialist country. And I would remind the actors down there that hated me for being conservative, but they still liked working with me. And I said, yeah, but you like the money you're making, and you realize that Hollywood is a capitalist business. They can scream all they want about socialism, but you are making your money from, like, my sidekick, Michael Hurst, who's number one, an atheist, number one, he's a total communist, yet he's making a lot of money every year because of Hercules. At bottom, his beautiful house there in Auckland, New Zealand. And, but, here's a guy that doesn't even want to be friends with me anymore because of my stance. I don't have that kind of anger or hatred towards people with a different opinion. I don't. I'm all for freedom of speech. Right. And yet the left, more than anybody else, wants to get rid of freedom of speech. They want only their speech. You cannot have a say in these things. And that's the thing that makes me probably angry. And their arguments are never really, they're always full of holes. And they always say is you're wrong. They don't tell you how they're wrong, but they figure if they yell louder, that makes them right. So if they're more angry, that makes them right. But, and not surprisingly, when you get people like George Soros and other very wealthy billionaires out there that support this, because I look at these A-listers out there that scream for, climate change, which I call weather, by the way, and all these other things, they go crazy, and scream for socialism, yet they're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And I'm not going to, people know who these A-list stars are. I don't have to name. Right. And I'm going, they can say that because they can afford to be it, but they made it their money through capitalism, and they live a capitalist life. They fly private planes. They say walls don't work, yet their homes are surrounded by walls. I mean, as I said, once again, hypocrisy rules. I mean, truth isn't like kryptonite to these people. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, there is a running contradiction that's rather explicit. So when you look at your day timer, are you you're very busy as far as doing what you do with your production company. You're writing books, you're in movies, directing movies. Your wife has her YouTube channel. Y'all got a lot going on in the media field. And so what's the mix as far as your, let's say, activism versus your day job? Because you seem like you're doing a lot as far as speaking out against the culture.
Well, I think it's mostly through the internet. I'm doing that. I'm just posting sarcastic truth to make fun of Babylon Bee is one of my favorite places to read. The Babylon Bee guys do fantastic work. Seth Dillon lives just down the road from me in Florida. But I just, it's funny because I've been asked to run for office more than once over the last 10 years, and I have zero interest in doing that. So that's got to be the worst job in the world. I just have no interest. But really, my biggest job for me is just trying to raise money for my movies. Okay. I do independent movies. I do like $3 million budget movies, and people, $3 million. Wow, that's catering budget in Pirates of the Caribbean or Avatar. Those are $300 million movies. Then they have $100 million to promote it and put their trailer in every football game, soap opera, every television show. So we have a battle against what Hollywood's doing, and I'm trying to do that. And there's other companies, the Irwin brothers do great stuff. The Kendrick brothers, Cindy Bond is a fantastic producer. She produced that movie, I Can Only Imagine, that Dennis Quaid was in. And there's just so many people that are trying to fight this onslaught, this I did a documentary with John Lennox, who's an apologist, and it's called Against the Tide, because we are going against the tide. And the tide is the evil. It's got the 666 stamped on every surfboard out there, you know. So we got it. We got a fight on our hands. And to me, I'm just going to keep on fighting the good fight and do movies with a positive message. You mentioned Hercules earlier when you introduced me. I don't get stopped because of Hercules or Andromeda. 80% of the time, it's because of God's Not Dead, What If, Let There Be Light, Soul Surfer. People say, please make more movies like this. Well, I'm doing it, but I'm doing the best I can to get word out. Like my latest movie is Miracle in East Texas. I need people. We got one weekend. It's a lower budget movie, but it doesn't look low budget. Trust me, it's a fantastic movie. It's a true story set in 1930 about two con men played by myself and John Ratzenberger that went through Oklahoma and Texas, wooing widows out of their money on fake oil wells. All right. Lou Gossett Jr. is in it. Tyler Maine, my wife Sam's in it. It's won 10 film festivals. It won Best Romantic Comedy, and won Best Faith Movie, another one. Judge's favorite, another one. Audience favorite. Miracle in East Texas. If you go to sorbostudios.com, you can see the trailer. And I'm urging people to buy tickets now, because if we fill up those 2 days that we have, with all, it's the biggest budget we got to get 2 days on 750 movie screens across America. Put in your zip code. It shows you what's showing you we need to buy these theaters out. We need to fill them up. That's the only way. Like God's Not Dead, same thing happened. That gave them a second week, third week, fourth week, and then went up going like 4 months. And we need people to spread the word. And that's what happened with Sound of Freedom. Same thing happened with Sound of Freedom. It was word of mouth. It was the push, the push, the push. And we need that same thing for this to be successful, because you know as well as I do, these theater owners don't care what they show. They want to sell sodas and popcorn. If you're coming, they'll keep that movie in there forever. So we need people to support this movie.
Yeah, I want to get into what you're doing. I have one final question on the Hollywood side. Is there any hope for that industry out there in California, or are we just going to have to build blue and red economies? And so you and Angel Studios, the Kendrick brothers, other people, I mean, you're building a strong network as far as conservative movie base. But is there any hope for what's going on in Hollywood, or they're going to continue to deteriorate?
I got to pray that there is. I got to think that there is a turning point, turning of the tide, because otherwise I don't know where we're going to be. And just the fact that I get all these different people when I shoot movies come up and say thanks for being a voice, and I've seen more of them now becoming more vocal and saying enough is enough. I love the fact that Mark Wahlberg is really out there now speaking up. You know, Neil McDonough is very open about his Christian faith and how he won't do certain movies and things like that. So more people are definitely speaking up, which is great news, I think. And because how long can Disney keep going? They're going to lose over $1 billion this year. How long can you stay in a business if you're losing that kind of money by constantly making these woke movies? Because people are just sick and tired of it. You're always going to get that 1%, that 40% that are locked in that world, and they'll just do anything that has to do with over sexualization and violence and hate and anger. I mean, it's a very evil, satanic world out there right now. The devil's laughing, and like you said, I think the greatest thing the devil did was make people believe he didn't exist. And he's definitely out there and having a pretty good time right now. So. I'm just fighting back the most I can. And, Jesus said, you follow me and you'll be vilified. You'll be attacked. So it's there, but I don't care. I'm going to keep fighting. And I love the movies that I do.
Yeah, truth stands, and truth ultimately will stand. Non-truth will collapse on you. We're seeing that in the transgender issue now, is that, like Chloe Cole would be an illustration of that sure. I want to become this, then I become this, and then that just collapses in on you. It's a very sad story, and there's hundreds and hundreds of other stories like that as well. But what's the same with the media industry? I mean, you can run that way if you want to, but eventually it's just going to collapse on you. So you decided your answer was to build your own studio and to just start doing your own thing. And so, in fact, in our show notes, we'll have kevinsorbo.net. You can go there, and there's a ton of information here that you can
go to kevinsorbo.net.
I'm sorry, that's what I'm reading here.
I know, but I want Sorbo Studios. That's the newer, updated one. Sorbostudios.com is the best place to go. There's stuff in kevinsorbo.net, but that's really the European fan club that runs that. A lot of stuff there. I'm not going to say run away, but sorbostudios.com has my wife and my stuff on there. That stuff, that's just far more information on it.
Okay, this will be the only time I'll use this word today in this context, but cancel that, please. It is Sorbo Studios. Let me type that in so I
Yep.
don't forget it. .net. You know, you
Dot
do have
com,
a lot
dot
of
com, dot com.
.com.
Yep.
You
Serverstudios.com.
you do
You,
have a
you
lot
just
of
you just mentioned something what's going on with the kids today. I have a book that just came out. I don't know if you heard about, Kirk Cameron did a book with Brave Books and he went to speak at public libraries reading it.
yes,
You know,
yes. Yeah,
he
yeah.
got attacked by like, oh, we can't, you're not counting. But these same libraries are happy with drag queens coming in to read the 6-year-olds. They don't want Kirk Cameron because apparently he's really scary. Kirk Cameron to read to kids. It's much better for drag queens. Well, I always talk about Waking Up the Lion. So Brave Books, same company, came to me and said, we want to do a book with you. It's called The Test of Linehood. And this book is it is about letting boys grow up to be boys. Let boys be boys and let them grow up with strong father figures, that they become strong fathers themselves, strong suppliers and protectors of the family. I'm not taking anything from the mother. Her part in the family is important as well. They just have different jobs to do in that family unit, and we're trying to break up the family unit. BLM came out with their manifesto, and their number one thing on their manifesto is to get rid of the family unit. We are Marxists. They admitted we need to get rid of God. We need to get rid of. They equated being pregnant to slavery, and I thought, well, that's interesting. So if every woman stopped having babies, then Bill Gates will have his wet dream come true because there'll be no more people living on the planet any longer. There'll be no more human life. Don't get me going on Bill Gates and Fauci. I think those guys should be in prison for what they've done
Right.
to the
I
world.
think that, well, the Chinese have realized now that that's a problem with the one child policy that
Oh yeah.
Now they don't even have a working class. All right. So I'm at sorbostudios.com. By the way, that's a much better website. It's so beautiful and there's a ton of information. And is your wife's name Samantha?
Actually, it's Sandra, but she's the fourth of 4 girls, and her mom always wanted a boy named Sam. So she started calling him Sam when she was just like 1 year old, and that's what stuck. So
Yeah.
when
Okay.
people
So,
say Samantha, they go, no, it's Sam. So
well, yeah, I made that assumption, but
yeah, me
Kevin and
too. I
Sam,
would have made the same thing.
y'all actually met on at a shoot, right?
We met on set of Hercules. Yeah, every episode they sent down a very pretty girl for me to work with, so it was a great dating service for me. And then season 4, she came down there, and it was all over. I knew, I knew like that. It was all over, and
Did she, did
I,
she put the
I
move
wore
on?
her down.
Did
Pardon?
she put the move on Herc?
Well, I'm a big flirt, so I put the move on her. So it's I wore her down. We've been together, married 25 years and 3 kids, 22 and 19 of my boys. My daughter's
How
17.
many kids you say?
3. I had 3.
Okay. Yeah, that's really phenomenal. So you were married in 1998, right? I was
Yeah.
married in 1990. Congratulations on your 25th, by the way.
Yeah. In Hollywood, if you make it to 10 years, that's like a golden anniversary. So
Congratulations on your
thank,
2.5 golden anniversary.
thank you.
It
See,
is
you did good math. Even if going to public schools, you're able to do math. That's shocking.
You could tell I went to public school. That was obvious, but
Yeah.
So so I was married in 97 and we have 3 children as well. And God's been very kind to us. So you're how many hours a week are you working?
Like now?
Yeah.
Oh man, on Hercules, it was 14-hour days on set and
Oh,
two
so
hour
that was like part-time compared to what you're doing
hour and a
now,
half
right?
lifting weights. But now I work every day, 7 days a week. My biggest thing is trying to raise money. It really is. I mean, I'm always trying. I mean, every time we've been fortunate enough to raise money for the next movie, it's always been a God thing. I mean, Miracle in Texas coming out. I did a speaking event and I was signing my book afterwards, and a guy waited in line patiently. He got up there, slid a piece of paper at me, and said, "Can you make a movie with that amount?" I looked at it and I said, "Yes, I can." And that's how Miracle in Texas was made.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. Where the screen the script come from?
Dan Gordon. Dan Gordon is an Oscar-nominated writer, great writer. He came in. My wife wrote "Let There Be Light," which had a 4-month run in the theaters, and I directed that one as well. Dan Gordon did the rewrite on it. We became friends, and I've got 3 other of his scripts right now we're trying to raise money for. But he wrote the script a long time ago, originally for Robert Redford and Paul Newman. to do their third movie together for Butch Cassidy and then the Sundance Kid and the Sting. And it never happened. And so he brought it to me and I read it and I said, we got to get this movie made. And so that's how the whole thing just came together. He's an Oscar-nominated writer. He wrote The Hurricane for Denzel Washington. He wrote Whiter, Kevin Costner. He wrote 60 episodes of Highway to Heaven for Michael Landon. So just a great writer. And hopefully, if you got people that are listening right now, look, I've never lost any of my investors' money. I do in the 3 million range, a much better chance of making your money back than these. Once you get in the 30, 40 million range or above, it's tough to make your money back. You look at Sound of Freedom. Sound of Freedom needed to make 50 million to break even. They're much better. They had a good 20 million already invested into it, plus another 10 million in promotion money. So they had a bigger budget of money to work with. But that thing just ended up taking off because Angel Studios has a lot of power to tell people to buy tickets. So they're behind The Chosen and other wonderful projects. And then when they tell their followers to buy tickets, their followers listen to them. So
now you have a relationship with Dallas, right? Didn't y'all do something together?
Yeah, What If? We did the movie What If together. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's I know that last time I saw him was about a year ago when I was in Fort Worth because they live in Texas now. That's where they film. They filmed in Utah, but they film most of it now. They built a large set outside of Dallas. So
yeah, I think one of the blessings in the last 15 years or so is that the Christian movies that do come out are spectacular. I mean, they're really good movies.
Yeah,
their
production value has gone so much better than it used to be. They used to be cheesy. Now the storylines are great. The acting's good. The writing's fantastic. And, camera work is like anything else. You got a lot of people want to work. There's a lot of talented people out there. And so, without worrying about visual effects, I love doing movies that I call actor movies. So that's kind of what the world that I like living in. And I'm going to keep making movies like that. Just, we need people out there. I got good scripts, guys. Let's work together.
Yeah, I mean, you got half the country at least, and I do think that people like a movie with a story in it and good character acting, as opposed to a Marvel movie. And on your end, as you're saying, if you could do a movie for 3 million, the ROI on that movie can be really great, which leads to making even
the one guy who put $2 million into God's Not Dead, it made $140 million. So you did okay.
That's a good investment. All right, where are you going? You're in New York right now.
I'm in New York.
What did you just wrap up?
I had a bunch of interviews in New York City. I'm out in Long Island now. I just did a charity golf. People that know me know that I'm a golf nut, and I just did a charity golf event with Joe Namath. But I leave tomorrow. I got a speaking event down in Houston. Then I come back up here again for more, and then I'm going to Oklahoma City to screen my movie to about 400 oil people down there in Oklahoma City. And then I've got 5 more speaking events for this year out. I do a lot of pro-life speaking events. And I've got one in Kansas City, one in Lake Tahoe, one in Chicago, one in, where's the other one coming? Grand Rapids, Michigan. So, yeah, I got a pretty busy schedule to finish out the year.
Yeah, I think it's important as people listen to this, they need to pray for you and pray for Sam. I mean, again, we're the same age. I don't travel nearly that much. We're leaving in the morning to go to Canada for 10 days for a conference. But I find that quite exhausting, but I'm not Hercules either. All right. So Miracle in East Texas is coming out October the 29th and 30th. And if you go to sorbostudios.com, you can get a lot of information here, including pay it forward, get your tickets, and let other folks know. There's a lot of media stuff here too at this website.
And so also, if you can go to Brave Books, bravebooks.com as well. You can pick up the book that just came out with Brave Books, The Test of Linehood. And it's about letting boys be boys. It's a wonderful story. There's no bashing of anybody in there. It's just a wonderful story about his little boy who helped save his little sister's life. It's just a wonderful, wonderful story.
Did you write that book?
I co-wrote it with the people at Brave Book. We came up with the ideas together and went over all the writing. Yeah, I have 2 books that I wrote. I wrote a book called True Strength, My Journey from Hercules to Mere Mortal and How Nearly Dying Saved My Life, chronicling the 4 strokes that I suffered on the set of Hercules back in season 5.
Oh, that's right. They had to reduce your time.
Yeah, the last 2 seasons I went from a 14-hour day to a 1-hour day and slowly worked up. Then my wife and I did a book together, came out a couple years ago called True Faith, which is a sequel to True Strength.
Yeah, how's your health?
Great. It took me 3 years to fully recover, but I made it. I was very fortunate. I had an aneurysm way up here in my right in the artery that feeds into the arms, but a movement of my neck made, they call it retrograde flow, when the blood for a second flows the other way, and it sent 4 strokes into my brain. So the speech came back pretty quickly, but it took me 4 months to learn how to walk and balance again. It took me 3 years to fully recover.
Wow. And what'd you shoot today? 18 holes.
Well, it was a scramble. So you're playing with, 4 of the
Okay.
guys. You're taking the best ball every time. I'm a good golfer. I'm like a 6 handicap. So my game is between like 75 and 82. That's pretty much what my game is. So I'm decent.
Yeah, that's not economical. It's actually better to shoot like 115. Then it costs less per stroke.
That's right.
That way, you play a more expensive game than I
That's
do.
okay.
I get my money's worth. This is Kevin Sorbo. You can find him at Sorbo Studios. By the way, for those of you who are on Twitter, he is worth the follow. I would encourage you to do that. Kevin is very encouraging because fear is for sale. And there's a lot of us that are buying it, and just hearing your courage, the grace of God in your life as it's activated, and you will not be quiet. And that's really encouraging for us. And these are the examples that people actually cry out for, that, where are those voices? And to see those that are willing to stand up and make sacrifice, it's just encouraging for the small guy, for the rest of us out here. So I appreciate your example, and hopefully this will embolden folks in many different ways. Particularly the book that you just described earlier, it sounds quite interesting, and this movie coming out, I do think that we need to be very supportive of the movies.
Thank you.
You're friends with Jim Caviezel, right?
Yeah, we had the same manager for many years, playing the same basketball league together, and we were neighbors. The last 10 years I was in LA. I left 5 years ago. I live in Florida now, but the last 10 years we were only like a couple blocks apart.
Yeah. And so there's just a group of Christian brothers and sisters. Kirk, obviously, I know you're friends with him.
Kirk was my neighbor as well. His kids and my kids actually were in the same track team and stuff. So,
you left California before it was fashionable. Was that because of what's going on?
Well, people have been leaving for a long time, but I mean, they've lost 6 million people over the last 10 years, but it's really accelerated the last 3 or 4 years. But no, 5 years ago, we just got tired of it. I got tired of the traffic, the taxes, the politics. I just said, why are we here? I've shot over 80 movies, and probably 70 of those I shoot in Texas or further east. Why are we dealing with this? So we both have family here in Florida, and we've always been coming out, and it's been a great move. I love that. I love that we left. I miss my home, California, but beyond that, they've wrecked a beautiful state.
Yeah, they have. The last remaining thing is weather. That's what they always say.
Yeah,
but California is a conservative state. You just have blue cities. I mean, there's so many places you can go in California where, I mean, the people are great, and but once you head into the blue cities, it's a whole nother story.
Well, and look how LA is falling apart. Look at San Francisco.
Yeah, the last time we were in San Francisco was in 2016, and love San Francisco, but I have no desire to go back.
Nope, I'm done. Anyway, I got to roll, bud. I got another interview coming up in 6 minutes, so I gotta go.
All right, my brother, stay busy. Thank you so much.
All right, take care. God bless.
All right, see ya. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. Learn more and get access to other resources at lifeovercoffee.com.